The Dead Sea Scrolls offer a fascinating glimpse into the religious landscape of ancient Israel. They whisper of a time when the God of Israel, Yahweh, wasn't the sole deity vying for the Israelites' devotion. These scrolls, along with other ancient Near Eastern texts, hint at a more complex divine hierarchy, one where Yahweh might have had a father, the enigmatic god El, whose name simply means God in ancient Semitic languages, was a prominent figure in the Canaanite pantheon. He was considered the father of the gods, the creator of the universe, and the ultimate source of authority. In some texts, he is even referred to as Bull El, highlighting his strength and virility. But El's character is often shrouded in mystery. He is depicted as a distant, even otiose deity, leaving the day-to-day running of the cosmos to his children. This image of El as a somewhat removed father figure raises intriguing questions about his relationship with Yahweh. Could Yahweh, the God who would later demand exclusive worship from the Israelites, have started as just one of El's many sons? And if so, how did he rise to such a position of power and prominence? The answers to these questions lie buried in the complex tapestry of ancient Near Eastern mythology, where gods battled for supremacy and divine genealogies shifted with the sands of time. To understand Yahweh's origins, we must delve into this world of warring deities and explore the echoes of Canaanite mythology that resonate within the biblical text. While the Hebrew Bible eventually presents Yahweh as a singular transcendent God, there are hints within its pages that point to a different story, a more complex and layered narrative that has evolved over time. Certain passages, particularly in poetic texts, refer to Yahweh as the son of El, suggesting a familial connection between the two deities. This notion of divine lineage is not unique to the Hebrew Bible, but is a common theme in ancient Near Eastern religions. These references, though often subtle, provide a tantalizing glimpse into a time when Yahweh's place within the divine hierarchy was not yet absolute. They hint at a period when the religious landscape was more fluid and less monotheistic. One such passage appears in Psalm 82, verse 1, which reads, "God presides in the great assembly. He renders judgment among the gods." This verse paints a picture of a divine council, a heavenly court where multiple deities convene. The Hebrew word translated here as gods is Elohim, a term that can refer to both Yahweh and other deities. This plurality suggests a more complex divine ecosystem than the later monotheistic interpretation. This suggests that Yahweh was initially conceived as one among many gods, part of a larger divine council presided over by El. This council was a common motif in ancient Near Eastern mythology, where a chief god would rule over a pantheon of lesser deities. Further evidence for Yahweh's filial relationship to El can be found in the Ugaritic texts, a collection of mythological narratives discovered at the ancient city of Ugarit. These texts provide a rich tapestry of stories that illuminate the religious beliefs of the time. These texts describe a pantheon of gods ruled by El, with Baal, the storm god, as his favored son and champion. This familial structure mirrors the references found in the Hebrew Bible. Strikingly, many of Baal's epithets, such as Rider of the Clouds and Lord of the Storm, are later attributed to Yahweh in the Hebrew Bible. This transfer of titles suggests a blending or evolution of divine characteristics over time. This overlap in imagery and titles has led some scholars to conclude that Yahweh was initially identified with Baal, the son of El. This identification points to a shared cultural and religious heritage that was later reinterpreted. This identification is further strengthened by the fact that the name Baal simply means lord or master in ancient Semitic languages and was often used as a title for various deities, including Yahweh. This linguistic overlap further blurs the lines between these ancient gods. In this light, the biblical prohibition against worshipping Baal can be seen as a later attempt to distance Yahweh from his Canaanite origins and establish his sole supremacy. This shift marks a significant transformation in the religious identity and theology of the Hebrew people, reflecting broader cultural and historical changes. The influence of Canaanite mythology on the biblical portrayal of Yahweh extends beyond mere name-dropping or shared epithets. Entire narratives and motifs found in the Hebrew Bible bear striking resemblances to earlier Canaanite myths, suggesting a deep and complex process of cultural and religious assimilation. This assimilation was not a simple borrowing of ideas, but a profound integration that shaped the very fabric of the Hebrew religious identity. One such example is the story of Yahweh's battle against the sea monster Leviathan, a narrative that finds its parallel in the Ugaritic tale of Baal's confrontation with the chaotic sea god Yam. This tale is not just a story but a reflection of the ancient world's understanding of chaos and order. In the Ugaritic myth, Baal, armed with magical weapons forged by the craftsman god Kothar Wakasis, engages in a fierce battle with Yam, who threatens to engulf the cosmos in chaos. Baal emerges victorious, establishing his dominion over the forces of chaos and ensuring the stability of the created order. This victory is not just a personal triumph, but a cosmic one, symbolizing the triumph of order over chaos. This theme of the storm god battling and defeating the forces of chaos is echoed in the biblical accounts of Yahweh's creation of the world and his ongoing struggle against evil. The parallels are striking and suggest a shared cultural heritage. Psalm 74, verses 12 to 17, for instance, describes Yahweh's primordial victory over the sea. You divided the sea by your might, you broke the heads of the sea monsters on the waters. You crushed the heads of Leviathan, you gave him as food for the creatures of the wilderness. This vivid imagery is not just poetic but deeply symbolic, representing the ultimate triumph of divine power over chaos. You split open springs and brooks, you dried up mighty rivers. These acts of creation and destruction highlight Yahweh's supreme power over nature and chaos. Similarly, Isaiah 27 verse 1 proclaims, "In that day the Lord with his hard and great and strong sword will punish Leviathan the fleeing serpent, Leviathan the twisting serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea." This passage not only reinforces Yahweh's role as a divine warrior, but also connects him to the ancient tradition of gods battling sea monsters. These passages, with their vivid imagery of Yahweh crushing the heads of sea monsters and drying up mighty rivers, evoke the same sense of cosmic combat and divine power found in the Ugaritic Baal cycle. The imagery serves to elevate Yahweh's status as the ultimate divine power. They suggest that the biblical authors drew upon pre-existing mythological motifs, adapting them to fit their own theological purposes and elevate Yahweh to the status of supreme deity. This adaptation was not merely a literary device, but a profound theological statement, asserting the supremacy of Yahweh over all other deities. The association of Yahweh with the storm god motif is further strengthened by his close connection to the city of Jerusalem. This connection is not just a casual link, but a deeply rooted relationship that has significant implications for understanding the religious and cultural landscape of ancient Israel. In the Hebrew Bible, Jerusalem is not merely the capital of Israel, it is the city of Yahweh, his chosen dwelling place and the center of his cult. This city is depicted as the heart of the nation, a place where the divine and the earthly realms intersect, creating a unique and sacred space for worship and governance. This intimate link between Yahweh and Jerusalem mirrors the relationship between Baal and his own sacred city, Ugarit, in Canaanite mythology. Ugarit was not just a city, but a symbol of Baal's divine authority and his role as a storm god. Much like Jerusalem symbolizes Yahweh's divine presence and power. In the Ugaritic texts, Baal, after defeating Yam, desires to build a grand palace on Mount Zaphon, a mythical mountain often associated with storms and divine power. This mountain is not just a physical location, but a representation of Baal's dominion over the natural and supernatural worlds. However, his plans are initially met with opposition from other gods, particularly from his father, El. This conflict among the gods highlights the complexities of divine politics and the struggle for supremacy within the pantheon. Eventually, with the help of his sister Anat, Baal convinces El to allow him to build his palace, and Ugarit becomes the center of his cult and the symbol of his power. This narrative underscores the importance of familial alliances and divine intervention in the establishment of sacred spaces. Similarly, Yahweh's choice of Jerusalem as his dwelling place is presented as a deliberate act of divine selection. This choice is not arbitrary, but a reflection of Yahweh's sovereign will and his desire to establish a permanent and holy presence among his people. Psalm 78, verses 68 to 69 states, "He chose the tribe of Judah, Mount Zion, which he loves." This passage emphasizes the special status of Jerusalem and its central role in the religious life of the Israelites. He built his sanctuary like the high heavens, like the earth which he established forever. This imagery connects the earthly temple with the cosmic order, suggesting that the temple is a microcosm of the universe, a place where heaven and earth meet. The construction of the temple in Jerusalem, the earthly dwelling place of Yahweh, further solidifies the city's status as the center of his cult and the focal point of Israelite religious life. This temple is not just a building, but a symbol of divine presence and a place where the community can gather to experience the sacred. This parallel between Baal's palace on Mount Zaphon and Yahweh's temple in Jerusalem highlights the way in which the biblical authors appropriated and reinterpreted existing mythological motifs. By doing so, they created a unique religious identity that both connected with and distinguished itself from surrounding cultures. By associating Yahweh with Jerusalem, they not only emphasized his power and kingship, but also established a tangible, earthly center for his worship, further solidifying his presence in the lives of the Israelites. This association made Jerusalem not just a political capital, but a spiritual heart, a place where the divine and human realms could interact in profound and meaningful ways.